Well, if you've been following along or you've seen my omnibus collection before, this is part of it. You know that I'm a pretty big Spider Man fan. I've been paying attention to all this stuff for a long time. So I figured I should give my thoughts on what I've seen of No Way Home so far. Maybe you just might agree with me. My name is John Delarose. I am a #1 best-selling author and an award-winning comic creator also. I've got a shop on my website. I've got books on Amazon, including ebooks. Everything you could want out of awesome superhero comics, awesome science fiction books, all over the map. Good stuff for you. If you like my takes on things, you'll probably like my writing. So please support the channel. Go to the links in the description below and check that out. All right, I've seen a lot of buzz about Spider-Man No Way Home over the last several weeks. And of course, that's been culminating this week as people are getting closer to the release and actually getting excited about a movie for once. For once, it seems like there's a Marvel movie out, and because this is Sony, it gets a little different, that isn't a diversity plug to get golf claps from Hollywood. It seems like they actually are trying to make a real movie of actual comic book stuff for once. And it's interesting. I like the idea that there's going to be the three Spider-Men and all that, and they become, part of this multiverse and whatever. It's cute. And it's definitely in line with everything that we see with the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. But I've seen storylines like this in the actual comics as well. And it always feels like it just doesn't feel quite right for Spider-Man. And there's a reason for that. So we got, of course, excitement over William Dafoe returning as Green Goblin. They're talking about all of these multiverse villains coming back into here. Jamie Foxx is going to be back. And all of these characters are going to be showing up together. It's going to make this big multi-crazy verse that, of course, they have to put back together, or all the universes are going to be destroyed, I'm sure. That's kind of how these things work. But if you look at Spider-Man, go back to its roots and what made Spider-Man work as a character, it's not a big multiverse ending storyline like this. You shouldn't try to make every movie and every character into Avengers Endgame, is what it comes down to. While that works every once in a while for a big epic event, I always get very fatigued when I try to see these storylines that are trying to one up the last one for, and now the world's ending, and now the galaxy's ending, and now the universe is ending, and now the multiverse is ending, and now all the multiverses are ending, right? And so now it's like, you can't one up yourself that many times after another. Just from that perspective, it gets really tiring. But from the Spider-Man perspective, Spider-Man was always a street level character. What connected people with Spider-Man was the fact that he's just a teenage kid in high school. He goes out at night, he fights crime, he runs into these wacky people out there doing that. But at the end of the day, he's still kind of grounded in reality. Now, of course, there's been storylines like this, and they've done the Spider-Verse storyline and et cetera, and those can be pretty fun, but it still misses the core of what Spider-Man's about. The reason that the Tobey Maguire original film worked so well is you really just had that New York Spider-Man hero going out there, fighting the Green Goblin, trying to deal with his love life, trying to balance his professional life, etc., in the middle of that, and it really did a lot for the character. Now, in these big multiverse storylines, you really don't get a lot of character development. You get a lot of humor moments as the different multiverse characters interact. You get a lot of epic, sweeping, crazy CGI effects and things like that. But again, it just doesn't strike to the core of the Spider-Man character or what the Spider-Man series really has been all about. So I actually think this is going to be an okay movie. It's probably going to be fun. I think it's actually going to be decent family entertainment that probably isn't going to have a bunch of SJW virtue signaling, and that's the bar at this point for a movie to be decent and for a movie to be successful. But it still isn't exactly what Spider-Man should be. And that is the problem that I don't think Hollywood producers are going to be figuring out anytime soon. I had the same problem with Shang-Chi when it came out. I actually enjoyed kind of the beginning of the film where he's kind of kung fu fighting and he's got his quirky girl with him and she's making jokes and bringing light moments. I was hoping for like a street level kung fu film like that. Because again, a lot of the comics of Shang-Chi and all that were based on those 70s kung fu movies and all that. But they then shifted gears completely and went into this weird fantasy realm with it that, made it look like they jammed two movies together. I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen with Spider-Man here, and why, while, it probably still will be a better movie than Shang-Chi, it's still not completely right. What I'd like to see out of Spider-Man personally, I'd like to see, maybe an adult Spider-Man going up and marrying Mary Jane and dealing with the consequences of that, like we had in the late '90s, and still having to deal with some fun street level stuff. I know they already did Carnage, and that's kind of a '90s retro throwback thing that a lot of us would like as adults at this point. But doing it with the Venom thing isn't quite right either. If it was a Spider-Man film, I think that probably would have worked a little bit better. But this is what we're going to get. I know that Sony was really successful with their Into the Spider-Verse animated film, and so they're trying to move that magic into the live action, and I get it. And like I said, I think it's going to be all right, but I still think it's not going to be right. What do you think about this? I want to hear your thoughts on the movie. Leave a comment down below, and we'll be back soon talking about more. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back.